A group of environmentalists wants the city to build a park near the Balboa Avenue trolley station in Mission Bay.
Coming up next on the KUSI News at 4, we're live and local from all around the county.
So let's start off with Dan Plan in Mission Beach. Good evening, Dan.
Hello there. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Rose Creek, where I'm standing right here in Pacific Beach, but it starts way up north and it runs to Mission Bay. Basically, it's been neglected for a long, long time. Goes back to the days of the KUSI Indians. What's happening out here? Well, we'll tell you. And in fact, there's a hearing going on right now at City Hall about the future of Rose Creek. We'll talk about it coming up in a live report. But first of all, let's say good evening to Sasha Fu. Hey, Sasha.
Hey, Dan. A San Diego man is believed to be the first person to have his prison sentence reduced under the terms of a new law. How the state of California is now allowing judges and prosecutors to give some defendants a second chance. We'll have that story coming up. Mark?
Hello, Sasha. Yes, we were out in Mission Beach for the 66th annual Ron Trenton Memorial Lifeguard Relays. They're going to be running around these cones, swimming out into the ocean, and a whole host of other things. And there's about a 30-degree difference between the temperature here at the beach and the temperature inland. We'll talk about it all in a big warm-up this weekend, coming up in just a bit.
Let him ride. Coming up next in sports, he's a Hornet, now he's a champion, and at 4 p.m., he's ours. It's a look at our conversation with Norman Powell. That's right, you know him, Lincoln fans, in sports. We're going to love that, but the KUSI News at 4 starts now.
Welcome to the KUSI News at 4. I'm Anna Laurel.
Great to have you with us. I'm Logan Burns.
And I'm Ginger Jeffries. Thanks for joining us this evening.
We have an active fire threatening homes and businesses this afternoon and a new mandatory evacuation order in effect. This is for people in Otay Mesa. The fire is burning on Airway Road just off the 905 near San Ysidro High School. Let's show you some video of this right now. According to San Diego Fire and Rescue, the fire has burned about 150 acres. Now, it started this morning at 11. It was burning southeast, but crews on the ground tell us this thing has changed direction several times now. Ground crews and water-dropping helicopters and that plane you see is dropping that fire retardant, they're all on the scene right now. And within just the last 30 minutes, San Diego police issued a mandatory evacuation order for people in the area. Here's where it covers: south to the 905 to the U.S.-Mexico border, west of La Media Road and east of Cactus Road. There are so many businesses in the area: freight businesses, furniture warehouses, Honeywell is there, storage facilities, the Otay Mesa Chamber of Commerce, all in this area that's under the mandatory evacuation. Right now, you can see a lot of brush there around that San Ysidro High School area. This is, except for this industrial park situation, this is live video we're looking at right now. This is just coming in. We're just getting this live feed up. So you can see a lot of pallets out there. So this is a big industrial area. And so, again, we're just getting this in. These fire crews, looks like they're just checking out. That black smoke is showing you there is a lot of fuel in there feeding these fires.
I'm checking Twitter, actually, also, and Southwest Colleges also tweeting out that the Higher Education Center at Otay Mesa is being evacuated due to this brush fire here as we continue to look at those pallets. So one more evacuation, as you said earlier, the mandatory evacuations south of St. Andrews, west of La Media, east of Cactus Road. There were some voluntary evacuations as well, those in the area of the 905 and just west of Cactus Road. So they've been on this now since about 11 o'clock this afternoon, and it continues to grow. I reported earlier at 3 o'clock it was at 130 acres, and then it was up to 150, and looks like they're continuing to try to fight this both in the air and on the ground. They've got the planes, they've got the helicopters, ground crews, as you see their live pictures.
But with that black smoke, that means that this thing is eating up, gobbling up a lot of fuel. It's not a lot, there's not a lot of white smoke showing us that it's getting out right there. And then you can see all this brush that it's burning. Again, around San Ysidro High School, down in this gulch, down in this valley, a lot of brush, a lot of open space. This has kind of been not developed until just recently. On the other side of San Ysidro High School, away from this industrial area, that's where all the residential neighborhoods are. Lots of new neighborhoods, new subdivisions out there. So, of course, all those people are keeping an eye on this as the wind changes out there. As we said, this thing has changed direction several times today. It was burning southeast, but now they're saying it's burning in different directions.
No word on the cause. They'll, of course, try to figure that out later once they get this under control. San Diego Fire Department tweeting at about 3 o'clock this afternoon, firefighters getting water from National City Fire Department water tender, no hydrants in the area. So no exact location of where they're talking about where there were no hydrants, but they're fighting it. They've got so many different crews in the area. It's all hands on deck trying to get this put out and just trying to get some confirmation. Now I'm noticing some boats in the area, so looks like it might be some kind of a storage facility there.
Yeah, there's several storage facilities in that area.
And I mean, those wood pallets, it's just the perfect kind of fuel, right, for a fire. There's the air between the pallets, which gives it oxygen, and then that dry.
It's like a match
sure is, yeah.
And people in the South Bay are reporting, seeing this on social media all over South Bay, saying that they're seeing a lot of this smoke. So if you're in the South Bay, look outside, you might see the smoke from this Otay Mesa fire. Earlier, we spoke to an officer on the ground, a firefighter on the ground. Let's listen to what he told us.
It's a pretty steady breeze. It's not. It's something we can handle. It's in our favor. The direction it's going. The alignment is what we call it. It's pushing it east away from the structures. Our only threat right now is there's a Border Patrol canine station about a mile from here, and we have an engine sitting there on that facility.
How close to this apartment complex is it getting?
He was saying it was about 400 or 500 feet away from the apartment complex.
All right, so if you're just joining us, this is an active fire threatening homes and businesses. A new mandatory evacuation order is in effect for people in Otay Mesa. It's burning off Airway Road. That's kind of the area where it started, just off the 905. This is near San Ysidro High School. And look at those flames up in the air and all that black smoke. It's just gobbling up all that fuel out there in this industrial area. You've got the exact location of the evacuations.
Well, we've got some mandatory evacuations south of St. Andrews, west of La Media, and east of Cactus Road. Those are the mandatory evacuations, telling people to get out of the area, of course, use caution. The voluntary evacuations, at least as of late, have been south of Interstate 905 and west of Cactus Road. The Higher Education Center there in Otay Mesa is being evacuated as well. Classes canceled. So kind of depending upon where you are, if you're in the area, you're either under a mandatory evacuation or not. Or a voluntary, and this has been going on now since 11 o'clock, and it just continues to grow and grow. There's a map, really gives you an idea, south there of the 905. So we've seen the airplanes dropping that fire retardant red material on it. Here's a helicopter. We've seen several helicopters, and just so many firefighters in the area. They're just all racing to put this blaze out. No word on the cause. Of course, it's been dry lately. Haven't had too much rain in the area. You saw some of the dry brush, and now it is burning these wood pallets, and you can see the firefighter helicopter just trying to douse that. But I mean, that is just, as you said, Anna, that's just like a matchbox.
It's getting worse as we're sitting here.
Yeah.
So at 4 o'clock, we were told the fires burned about 150 acres. Logan, when you did this cut-in, the news break at 3 p.m., it was at?
We're about 1:30.
Yeah, so 20 acres in an hour going by that. And so, again, it started at 11 o'clock. They don't know the cause. And if we can we put that split screen back up to kind of look at the map to give you an idea of all the, so this is the satellite image. Look at all that open space, all that dry brush, all that fuel, and then the circle, that red circle is also covering up the big industrial space. And just to the left, you see that San Ysidro High School. They've revamped that high school, keep it looking so nice. They're trying to, of course, keep it away from as many structures and businesses. And of course, those homes, if you keep looking to the left, all those neighborhoods that have popped up, the new development there.
Yeah, I was going to say some of those new homes in the area, as you just mentioned. So they are trying to get this underway. The wind keeps changing. You had mentioned that, Anna. So, you know, at one moment we're talking about how the flames are going in one direction and then the other. So it's really hard to pinpoint exactly where this is moving. But definitely mandatory evacuations in the area. So this is a big fire here, and of great concern to the people in the area.
People all around the South Bay are posting to social media seeing the smoke from this fire. So all of it going up, it's threatening homes, businesses, prompting mandatory evacuations. It's mainly in this industrial area, and they're calling it the Caliente fire. So they've named this fire already.
It's because it's over by the Caliente Avenue, Otay Mesa Road. That's where it broke out, and that's where it's spreading. Broke out just blocks from the San Ysidro High School, as you see there. At one point, we reported it was moving away from homes, and then the next minute you're reporting that it is moving towards homes and different structures. And now what started out as voluntary evacuations have now turned into mandatory evacuations.
This is the second fire of significance that we have reported this week. We had the Dehesa fire just a couple of days ago. So we're in fire season. We were hoping it wouldn't be as bad. It's because we've had so much rain, but actually Cal Fire told us, no, it's going to be terrible because we just have all of this new brush that was able to grow because of all the rain. Now in this industrial area, just all this fuel. Businesses there, freight businesses, furniture warehouses, Honeywell is there, storage facilities. The Otay Mesa Chamber of Commerce is in this area. And look, I mean, as we sit here on the air, this fire and that black smoke, the plume just gets bigger. But now these firefighters are just standing watching because, I mean, they've got a plan. They know what they're doing out there. They might have to let it gobble up this fuel. Not sure.
Just yesterday, we had a report that Governor Gavin Newsom is providing millions and millions of dollars for more firefighters as we move into fire season here. It just seems like moments ago that we were covering the wildfire season. So here we are again. It's August 1st. It's hot. And seems like we had been predicting that soon we might have more fires, and here we are in San Ysidro.
So we've got some movement with these firefighters now. They've kind of run off scene, offset, and you can see some water. You see that water kind of to the right of your screen just coming out from those green trees. You see it there, kind of at the middle of your screen now, shooting into that. Can't imagine how hot. There you go. You see that?
Yeah.
So can't imagine how hot that has to be burning in there. That is just basically a fire pile, a wood pile to burn this.
Yeah, you wonder what it's going to take to put that out. I mean, they've got to get it from the air. I would imagine they're going to just put as much water on it as possible. They're certainly experts. They know what they're doing. And you can see the dry brush around them, so hopefully it won't spread to that or even some of the trees. It looks like there's some boats in the yard. There are some trucks. Hopefully they'll be able to save those if in fact those are somebody's versus just kind of a junkyard there.
And again, if you're just joining us, we just want to keep updating you as people are getting home from work, getting home from the afternoon. A mandatory evacuation order is in effect. This covers south of the 905 to the U.S.-Mexico border, west of La Media Road and east of Cactus Road. So many businesses in the area. On the other side of San Ysidro High School, so many residential neighborhoods, brand new developments that are up. See, these firefighters now, they're really getting into gear. As this thing looks like, just as we've been sitting here for the past 12 minutes, it has gotten bigger. And just to the left, outside of this pile of pallets, it's just a canyon with a lot of, look at the brush there where they're walking and standing on and pulling their hoses through. Dry and dead. So all of that stuff is just fuel for this fire. Again, within an hour, we think it grew about 20 acres. And as the wind, you can see the wind is just carrying it this afternoon. They said it was burning southeast, but the wind has changed direction several times. And so again, this thing just getting bigger as we continue to sit here.
I'll give you the mandatory evacuations again if you're just joining us. South of St. Andrews, west of La Media, east of Cactus Road, started around 11 a.m. The voluntary evacuations are south of Interstate 905, as you see the map there, and west of Cactus Road. It started right near Otay Mesa Road and Caliente Avenue. They're calling it the Caliente Fire now, here in Otay Mesa. The Higher Education Center at Otay Mesa is also evacuated. Classes canceled there. So we're following Twitter. We're checking things out. There was one tweet by San Diego Fire Department saying that there were no hydrants in the area and that they were getting their water from the National City Fire Department. So quite a number of firefighting units there on the ground, in the air. We've seen the helicopters. We've seen the fire retardant planes dropping that red phosphorus material that helps to put the fire out. So they're trying to get it surrounded and just attacking it from every angle that they possibly can. The wind keeps changing, and so that's, of course, a difficulty for the firefighters. Just when they think they've got it kind of under control as far as which way it's going, then it changes, and then they've got to readjust. And you see these firefighters going in there, and it's certainly a hot day out there as well, and they're covered with all that gear, so we commend them for staying on this.
So we're staying right here because we're in a safe location. Of course, they put us right where we're not going to be in their way and in danger. You can see some more dark smoke there to the left of our screen, really active fire situation. But I'm just looking again, going through what people are posting online. And so as it looks like this fire, they've contained it to this little area, right? But that's really not the case of this whole Caliente fire. People posting online, just some incredible footage out in those canyons. It looks like just a line of fire moving through, bulldozing its way through. That's why we at the top of 15 minutes ago, they told us 150 acres. An hour earlier, it was 130 acres. So it continued to get bigger by the hour, 20 acres, maybe an hour, maybe more now. As you can see, just with us sitting here in the last 15 minutes, it's gotten, I would say, twice its size. Firefighters are getting water from National City water tenders. There are no hydrants in the area, so imagine that. They're out in these dry fields, no hydrants in the area. They're having to bus in water in water trucks now from National City Fire Departments. And again, they're saying that people all over South Bay are seeing this smoke. So imagine the traffic now on the highways as everybody's trying to figure out where on earth this is coming from, and people driving to and from on the 905. So much smoke in the area, and not white smoke. When you see white smoke, you have a little bit, okay, they've got this under control. That's a lot of oxygen going on, no big deal. This black smoke, that's bad. That's gobbling up the fuel. That's just feeding that fire, feeding those flames.
You hope that there aren't any tires in this area, but sometimes when you talk about these yards where there are boats and cars and pallets, you get all the different kinds of chemicals and those piles of tires, and that really does create some black smoke. I'm checking Twitter. Governor Gavin Newsom with former Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger today visiting the McClellan Air Force Base to highlight the new technology that will help CAL FIRE in their response to wildfires and fire emergencies. The governor talking yesterday as well, talking about trying to get $1 billion of new firefighting investments, including that new C-130 air tanker, the Black Hawk helicopters. So spending money for sure on the wildfire preparation. And here we are just one day after his speech and his discussion about spending more money to help firefighters get the tools they need to battle these fires. Here we are in Otay Mesa, this one starting at about 11 o'clock. And we've focused here on this yard with those wood pallets and boats and cars and other types of property in that area. Mandatory evacuations south of St. Andrews, west of La Media, east of Cactus Road. The higher education there in Otay Mesa evacuated. Voluntary evacuations south of Interstate 905 and west of Cactus Road. That's the latest. Wondering if maybe the voluntary evacuations might turn into mandatory there, as we continue to try to figure out which way the winds are going and which way these flames are spreading. But I feel like this has gotten larger just in the last, 10 or 15 minutes since we've been on this shot.
It's in a wooden pallet yard, as you can see, and it looks like now it has actually hit those pallets and is burning. Definitely has increased and ramped up there. You can see, here come the helicopters. Hopefully that can help. We've seen more hoses now on that fire, and these helicopters, it's amazing how targeted they can be. Let's watch this. Okay, so we have Monica Munoz. We've got her mic'd up. Monica, can you hear us?
Yes, Monica Munoz, San Diego Fire and Rescue.
San Diego Fire and Rescue, thank you so much. What can you tell us, Monica?
We probably are about 160 acres, and fortunately, just in the last probably 15 minutes, the winds have died down. We expected, based on weather predictions, that we would have sort of an increase in winds in the afternoon between about 1 and 4, and as predicted, the winds have died down somewhat, which is helpful. I just heard you mention the pallet yard. And yes, there is a pallet yard that was in the path of the fire, and so a bunch of pallets did burn, which caused a bunch of black smoke in the area just probably about 40 minutes ago. So they're dealing with that, and we have probably about 325 personnel between air support and folks on the ground who are fighting the fire. But as I said, the conditions are more favorable because the humidity is higher and we don't have Santa Ana winds and we don't have super high temperatures. So the Mother Nature's cooperating with us, but it's just a matter of getting a line entirely around the fire.
Well, what is the strategy, Monica, to attack this fire? Do you surround it and kind of move in and try to keep it from spreading?
Yes, that's the reason for hand crews. We have several crews from CAL FIRE who come in and essentially dig into the dirt to create a barrier between where the fire was and where it's trying to go. And in concert with air support, then that's how they contain the fire, essentially. And it's very strategic. There is what we refer to as a fire attack platform, which is a supervisor in the air monitoring the helicopters and making sure that they are safely coordinated for their water drops. In addition to that, they're gathering information which they share with the leadership team that's on the ground so that they can discuss strategy, moving resources around, and keeping in mind structures and different areas that they're concerned about.
Monica, we're looking at video right now of that fire burning those pallets. It's extremely dramatic, of course, with all that black smoke. Can you tell us, do you know how many people had to be evacuated? I mean, we have the cross streets, the road names that were in the evacuation area, but do you know how many people that has affected?
San Diego Police is actually handling the evacuation, so I do not have a number. I just have the general vicinity, but we did extend it was mostly commercial area that was under voluntary evacuation initially, and then we extended that further east to an area, generally a street called Otay Center Drive. And so west of Otay Center Drive, and then east of Cactus and then south of 905 is the general area. As I said, vast majority commercial businesses. Many of those people had already left before the PD was able to get out and ask them to leave. And but everyone's been very cooperative. No one has been injured. No structures have burned. So this all of the assistance that we're getting from all the agencies has been really beneficial for us. We really appreciate it.
Have the mandatory evacuations changed? We've been reporting south of St. Andrews, west of La Media, and east of Cactus Road.
Yeah, so east of Cactus extended further east to an area called, or a street called Otay Center Drive. Generally, that area, there isn't a straight northwest sort of barrier. It's not a straight grid pattern in that area, but if you look at Otay Center Road, just generally west of there is where it extends over to Cactus, and then south of the 905. And St. Andrews, it runs parallel to the 905.
Is it dangerous to evacuate? I mean, are the roads clear enough?
We are getting assistance from San Diego Police Department in making sure that people are being able to travel safely on the roadways. And there are some hard closures, which they will be able to provide for you, but they're making sure that everybody is able to exit safely and go to where they need to go.
You told us we have 325 personnel fighting this fire. We're watching a helicopter fly in, drop the water, drop the retardants over that pallet fire. You said there's basically an air supervisor coordinating these airdrops, moving resources around where they need to go. How many planes do you have in the air right now?
We have 4 helicopters, 2 from San Diego Fire Rescue, 1 from San Diego Sheriff's Department. We also have a federal fire helicopter, and then there are 2 aircraft from SDG&E. The helitanker is also here. Then we have 2 fixed wing, 1 fixed wing from CAL FIRE, and then the air attack supervisor is a fixed wing as well.
Wow, sounds like you've got the air.
Yeah, I'm trying to get all that down. So is it 4 helicopters and 2 planes, essentially?
It's 6 helicopters and 2 fixed wing aircraft.
Where are they getting the water from?
There are a couple of water sources in the area. I understand there's an estuary, and then there's also the Otay Lakes. I'm not sure which one they're drawing from at this point. I haven't been watching them, their pattern. So I can't tell you for certain, but there are 2 water sources in the area.
And we heard that there are no hydrants in the area also.
That's correct, because it's the majority of it is open space brush.
Is there absolutely no fire hydrants anywhere near this fire that they can use?
Right. We put fire hydrants near residential areas and areas where there are structures. We don't put fire hydrants out in the middle of an open brush area. So there wouldn't be any out there.
Right.
And so what happens is we have what's called a water tender, which carries thousands of gallons of water, and it travels. It's an off-road vehicle, and it can travel out to the area where our brush engines are, and then it pumps water into those engines, and then they can use that water on the fire.
We are watching the most incredible, dramatic video right now, Monica, of these pallets burning, huge flames, huge plume of dark black smoke, and then the helicopters just soaring in, dropping the water on top of this thing. What does it look like, though, away from this? I mean, obviously, I know it's going to look like this because of all that fuel right there, but this looks like it's burning really quickly, right? So what is it looking like out in the brush area?
Well, I'm standing at the command post, and the black smoke majority of it is gone. There is some residual really, really high up, but I think that video may have been from a short time ago. But I have to say that the pilots that are doing this work, it is tremendously taxing, and it requires a tremendous amount of skill to do the work that they do, because of the fact that they are having to pay attention to so many different things all simultaneously. And it's skill when it comes to where you're making the drop. It's skill when it comes to wind, of course, monitoring your instruments and keeping a really good sense of situational awareness about what's happening around you. And then, of course, you're working with several other aircraft, so you're also monitoring where everybody else is in space. And so it's a very, very highly skilled, and we're so fortunate to have the tremendous pilots that we have at San Diego Fire Rescue, in addition to our partners in the region.
They're doing a great job. Do you have a pinpoint to where the fire started? And I would imagine it's probably too soon to talk about a cause, but I'll ask anyway.
That's correct. We don't know what caused it at this moment, and I believe the first report was at the end of Caliente Avenue, was where we got the first report of the fire about 11:45 this morning.
Monica, is there ever an idea where you just kind of let these pallets burn themselves? You try to contain it as best you can so it won't spread, and you just let it burn because it might just be too difficult to douse it with water, especially with the challenges that you're having with getting the water there? Maybe you use the helicopters for, say, some other area where it's a brush fire and it's getting closer to homes?
Yes, all of those strategic decisions are made by the battalion chiefs and the shift commander who are running the incident. So what they're doing is they're gathering information from the crews that are out in the field, and that information is coming back here, and then based on what the recommendations are from the crews in the field, the battalion chiefs here are making the decision as to what they allow to burn, and then where they focus the resources, where they move resources, and where they put the efforts of the firefighters on the ground and in the air.
And so I'm guessing that people all around, and we're seeing reports just on social media, people all over the South Bay and people driving around on their afternoon commute. The highways are getting really packed. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. So many people posting about this, and this is our chopper up in the air. This is a live picture, so that fire, that fire is just rolling. We've been on the ground looking at it. You can imagine just like you say, what those fire crews, what those chopper and plane pilots have to do. They're flying directly into this. It's like its own war zone, trying to drop very targeted water right above this thing. You can see everybody at home. Look at this. So it's in an industrial area, and all of that brush, all of that dry fuel. So, Monica, what would you say about, do you think that, might be hard to say, but people on the 905, are you hearing reports of problems as people are trying to get around this and get on those side streets?
I don't have any contact with CHP at this moment. But what I do recommend is for people who live in the area, they should pay attention to our Twitter feed at SDFD and also the San Diego Police Department, which is at San Diego PD, just to get the latest updates on road closures and evacuation areas and what we're requesting for people, and then updates on the size of the fire, et cetera. But if it's possible for people to leave and go stay with a family member or a friend, it's best for you to do that without someone having to come to your home and tell you that. And also, we strongly recommend against people being looky-loos and trying to go to the site of the fire so that they can take pictures. It's not. We don't appreciate people trying to put themselves into the mix because we don't want to have anybody injured. Up to this point, there have been no injuries on this incident, and we hope to keep it that way throughout the entire incident.
Monica, we're learning that the Red Cross has set up some type of a shelter at the San Ysidro High School. Is that your understanding as well?
I have not gotten shelter information because the police department actually handles the evacuation. So they would be sharing that information when they go out and talk to people in their businesses and in their homes.
But as far as the San Ysidro High School, it sounds like it started near there. The high school is fine, is my understanding.
Yes, that's correct. The high school was not ever threatened as far as the fire. It was the fire was traveling east of the high school.
Monica, again, we're just looking at this incredible footage coming in from our chopper, the KUSI chopper, up in the air. And I mean, it's kind of the rolling orange and red flames that we're seeing contained to really a small area right now, kind of in a little circle. So, and then right all around it, on one side, it looks like a truck yard, a freight business of some sort. Lots of semi-trucks, their trailers parked out there. And then on the other side, all that brush, a lot of it has already been burned up to this point. Is the wind blowing the fire further, like embers, burning embers? Are you having problems with that?
I don't believe that because I don't think the wind is strong enough at this point for that to be happening. That's something that we tend to see when we have Santa Ana wind conditions, which are very unpredictable winds, and they sort of churn around in addition to the very low humidity and high temperatures. So we're fortunate that we don't have those conditions at this moment, but this is a really good sort of learning experience for people. We know that we are in fire season now, and the closer we get to August and September and October, those are the times that we have the very big incidents in California, especially Southern California. So we always recommend that people be prepared in advance, have their emergency kit ready, talk to your family and those who live in your household about an emergency plan, talk about evacuation routes, talk about what you would do if you're at work and the kids are at daycare or the kids are at school. Discuss those things. This is a really good wake-up call to what we may be facing in the next few months. And as I said, the conditions are more favorable today than when we have the Santa Ana conditions. And so it's a lot more predictable. And, you know, I don't mean to undersell it, but it's a little bit easier to manage when we don't have the crazy winds that we tend to get in Southern California. So this is just a really good opportunity for people to start having those discussions and prepare. And actually, if they go to our homepage at sandiego.gov/fire, they can download our Ready, Set, Go guide, which has tremendous information on all different kinds of things you can do to protect your home, checklists on things that you should have in your go bag, in your emergency bag, ready to go. Don't forget your pets. Your pets are going to need food if you need to evacuate to a shelter. And we always, always, always recommend having these discussions in advance so that you know what to do when something serious happens.
Certainly great advice. One last question before we let you go. You were at 160 acres. Does it look like the fire is continuing to spread, or has it been contained?
There is zero containment at this point, but we have the potential for up to about 400 acres based on the area that we're seeing of open space. And I would have to walk over to the command post to get an update as far as the acreage at this moment.
So are you expecting this to take most of the afternoon, possibly into the night?
Yes, and we are prepared to bring additional resources if necessary to switch out crews because obviously we're not going to have them working nonstop for the next 45 hours. But as much as we need, we will continue to add resources, drawing from not only our department but also our partners in the region. And we've brought logistical support, so we have food, water, shelter, all the things that the firefighters will need, and the other staff that are working here to be able to just continue to work on it until we get it contained.
All right, Monica, Thank you so much, Monica Munoz. We really appreciate you. What great information. We'll be checking in with you throughout this evening and throughout fire season, unfortunately. But thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks for taking all that time.
Thank you.
And I want to bring Ginger Jeffries in on this. Ginger, you have such great experience with the weather conditions. You understand what this fire season is like. You heard what she said. It's favorable for her this afternoon.
One of the biggest concerns, anytime you're talking about winds and a fire, winds are going to dictate where the flames are going. But the other thing that you really have to focus on in a situation like this, temperatures today in San Ysidro got up to 89 degrees. Now, couple that with all the gear that those firefighters are wearing. And so you're worried about heat exhaustion as well. That 89 felt like 93 because, as she also mentioned, there was a little bit of humidity in the air. But my biggest concern, because you see in that live picture, you see how some of those little embers have gotten to the outer edges. Right now, the winds have been all under 3 miles an hour. I've been tracking them, and they went northeast and northwest. The highest gust in the last hour and 15 minutes has only been 3 miles an hour. So they've certainly tapered off a little bit. But you get one gust with as dry as it is today, and that means if that gust happens to carry it over into the brush, it is just going to run down the hillside as well, because as soon as fires start to get big enough, they create their own little ecosystems inside of it. You've heard about the fire tornadoes, the fire nados. They get hot enough that they actually create air that's transferring inside of it, and so that's when it starts not just spreading, but becoming really dangerous for firefighters as well, because as fires start to run, and you heard Monica say that several times, that this fire is running, that's when it becomes even more unpredictable. So in the hills and the valleys, what you see exactly on the right side of your TV screens right now. So thankfully, the winds don't look bad as we get closer to sundown. So I'm talking about 7:30 to 8 o'clock. That's when you get a little shift in the atmosphere. Typically, we'll get a little bit of a bump in the winds, courtesy of changing pressure. But right now, as I was looking ahead, just over the past about 40 minutes, it doesn't look like there's any massive winds, at least not here. It's a little too inland and south of where the main frontal boundary and that is kicking up some wind. But you nailed it. I mean, the favorable winds, I think, are what will allow the fire teams to get a little bit of an upper hand on what is burning right now in San Ysidro, near San Ysidro High School. My goodness.
No homes have burned, no structures have burned, no injuries. What we're looking at is a big pallet yard, probably a lot of vehicles in there. We're grateful for that. Of course, that can change, and they've got a mandatory evacuation in effect.
So we'll take a quick break. We're at 160 acres thus far, started at about 11:45, and fire officials saying this could reach 400 acres. We'll continue to follow it, take a quick break. More KUSI News in a moment.
All right, we have an active fire threatening homes and businesses. A mandatory evacuation order is in effect. This is in the area of Otay Mesa. Our John Soderman is out live on the scene. Let's go right out to him. John, what's the latest?
Let me tell you, this is a very serious fire. I'm just going to step aside, and Elliot's going to zoom the camera. You can see flames here about 100 feet high. We're hearing explosions every 30 seconds. We're not really sure what's burning, but there's nothing. We don't see any signs of the fire being fought. We did see a helicopter come by and put a water drop on it, but it would look like a Dixie cup. There's an explosion right there. So we don't know what's burning, but it's moving very rapidly. There's so much smoke, and it looks like it's just some kind of industrial. Well, this is off of Cactus Road here, but we are not. There's another explosion. So this is a very, very. You can hear those explosions now. It's really getting bad, and you can see how high those flames are. You can imagine how dangerous this fire is to fight. There's another explosion, especially from the air, because the smoke is so incredibly thick as it makes its way toward, looks like toward Tijuana, or toward the border here. But we're just hearing one explosion after another. We don't know what is burning. It looks to be an industrial area, but once again, this is off of Cactus. And we know there are some mandatory evacuations of parts of Otay, but we're not sure if this was a separate fire or related to the one that broke out at about noon today, but a very, very, very dangerous fire here, and you can just hear those explosions.
John, we're looking at our footage from the chopper right now, so you can't see it from the air like we can, but this is a huge pallet yard, so it looks like they're letting those pallets burn, and just beside them is a yard full of semi-truck trailers. So I'm guessing a lot of vehicles in the area, possibly that could be what those explosions are, all those vehicles. A lot of people evacuated. Maybe there were cars left behind. Again, this is an industrial area there in Otay Mesa. What are the roads like out where you are?
Desolate. Nope, we're not seeing anybody. We're not even getting that much of a sense of urgency from the fire department because I think it's just so dangerous right now. I can't speak for what's happening right where you're seeing, but the wind is picking up and it's just creating huge amounts of smoke. Elliot, Macias, and myself are probably, I don't know, maybe a little bit less than a half mile from this fire. I can feel the heat. I feel like I'm standing next to a fireplace. It's that intense. Yeah,
we're looking at it. It's just rolling bright orange and red. I mean, you rarely see fires burning like this on television anyway. Ginger's telling us the wind is about 3 miles an hour. They feel like the wind conditions are in their favor, but again, you're seeing it on the ground. John, we're going to come back out to you in just a few minutes. For those of you at home, stay with us. We're continuing to cover this fire in Otay Mesa. A mandatory evacuation order is in effect. We've got you covered.
This is the KUSI News at 5.
Welcome to the KUSI News at 5. I'm Anna Laurel.
Great to have you with us. I'm Logan Burns.
And I'm Ginger Jeffries. Thanks for joining us tonight.
We continue following this breaking news. An active fire threatening homes and businesses. There is a mandatory evacuation order in effect for people in Otay Mesa. See the map there? That's the burn area. The fire is burning right near Airway Road. This is just off the 905. You can see just south of the 905, right near San Ysidro High School. The high school is fine, not to worry about that. According to San Diego Fire and Rescue, the fire has burned 160 acres so far. They expect it could get up to 400 acres. Take a look at this. These are flames, as you can see. This is a yard filled with wood pallets and boats and cars and all kinds of other types of material there, right next door to what appears to be some kind of a trucking yard. It was burning southwest. Crews on the ground telling us that the direction has changed several times. The mandatory evacuations are south of St. Andrews, west of La Media, and east of Otay Center Drive. The Higher Education Center in Otay Mesa has also been evacuated. The classes there canceled. The voluntary evacuations are south of Interstate 905 and west of Cactus Road as they continue to battle this fire. 325 ground personnel are on the scene right now. 6 water-dropping choppers, tankers, and planes also dropping retardant from the sky. San Diego police again issued that mandatory evacuation order just before our 4 o'clock newscast started, just because this thing got so big and got close to all of these businesses in this industrial area. This looks like the freight business that's there. And again, that evacuation order covers south of the 905 to the U.S.-Mexico border, west of La Media Road, and east of Cactus Road. And again, about 325 people on the ground and half a dozen things fighting it from the sky, choppers and tankers. 6 helicopters, 2 planes. No fire hydrants in the area. They're using vehicles, off-road vehicles, to bring the water to those fire engines.
And now, live on the scene as this fire tears through the border area is our very own John Soderman with the latest for us. John.
Yeah, we're right outside that industrial yard you're talking about off of Cactus here, and this is a very, very intense fire. We're hearing explosions every couple seconds. And now it's almost, you can hear like a hiss, a roar. And we don't see any water being dropped in this fire. It appears that it's just too dangerous. We see a lot of fire trucks just kind of staging, but this is an incredibly dangerous, there's an explosion right there. There's another one, so we don't know whether those are fuel tanks from vehicles. There's another one, but the flames appear to be about 150 feet high. There's another explosion. So it just appears at this time it's just too dangerous to fight. At least from the air. We only saw 1 water drop, and it was tantamount to, like, dropping a Dixie cup. It was such courageous flying by the pilot because, I mean, imagine, flying a helicopter into that smoke. It's just so dangerous. There's some more explosions here. So we don't really know what the scene is. Listen to that. I'm just going to shut up here. Do you hear that?
Yeah,
you can hear just the
Wow.
Let me tell you, it's very eerie because it just gives you an idea of how incredibly intense this fire is. And so once again, this is part of the fire that started by the high school and made its way over here. I don't know what the wind, rather the miles per hour of the wind, but it appears the wind has picked up a little bit, blowing. Looks like it's blowing toward the southeast into Tijuana. It also looks like this could pose a problem for the aircraft taking off from the Tijuana airport, because it looks like it's getting right into their, when they take off. But this is a very, very intense fire, and it's going to, looks like it's just going to keep burning. So we'll be here.
John, this is Ginger, and you nailed it. You are correct with the winds. They are east-southeast right now, only to about 2 to 4 miles an hour, nothing too gusty. But I'm very curious because the temperature is certainly on the warmer side, peaking in the upper 80s, feeling in the low 90s. And since we are hearing these explosions, which we're speculating could be possibly gas tanks inside of the boats or possibly some cars that were there, give me a sense of what the air is feeling like. Are you getting any smells, any gas smells in the air? Give me an idea of the surroundings around you right now.
You can feel the heat, Ginger. It's that intense. We're about a half mile away, and you feel like you're standing next to a fireplace. Elliot, Macias, and myself. We were closer under where the smoke was coming in. We were getting hit in the face with embers, so we decided to get out of the way, because it's just, I don't know, this I've never seen anything like this. This fire is just, it almost gives you an idea that like, the fire has a human quality, that, it's got a personality, and right now it's pretty mad.
Well, and that could be why you're feeling like it's getting windier, John, because these fires, we said this earlier, they create their own ecosystem. Inside of that, a fire creates so much wind. And so that's why you might be feeling like the wind has picked up, even though, according to Ginger saying, looking at the models, that it's not as fast as it could be, of course, in those Santa Ana wind conditions, and maybe why you're feeling that heat. But again, you said this is something we asked San Diego Fire earlier about those burning embers. You're about a half a mile away now. Are you seeing any of that now?
Not really, but the smoke is getting thicker and thicker and thicker. I know that's a function of what is actually burning, but it's really billowing, and I can't imagine how dangerous it's going to be for pilots when the time comes to make a full aerial assault. I don't know what their plan is, whether they're waiting for it to burn through this industrial complex. We really don't know. You know what? Here comes a helicopter. If we could swing the camera around. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see some courageous flying here. I'm not sure if that's copter 1 or 2 from San Diego Fire, but it looks like he is carrying a drop of water. And let's see, he's banking now. He's coming toward the fire. And let's see, is he or is he not? Or maybe he's going to fill up. I'm not sure. But looks like he's going elsewhere. We're not sure what the plan is. Maybe he's going somewhere to get water. But so far, we've only seen one water drop, and it didn't do a darn thing.
They told us earlier there are 6 choppers in the sky, 2 tankers, planes dropping retardant. And you're right, John, we saw live on the air during our 4 o'clock newscast those choppers and planes just coming directly into that fire, dropping what they had and getting out of there.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure. It looks like that chopper is lowering itself into, I don't know whether if there's a reservoir. We're not sure,
yeah,
but so far, only one water drop so far.
I think it's very interesting what Monica Munoz from SD Fire was telling us earlier, that she, even though this fire is clearly getting bigger and clearly terrifying, she said this was a good wake-up call for San Diego, everybody living here, because look at what has transpired in the matter of 55 minutes since you've been looking at it live here. It broke out just after 11:45 this morning, and now it has grown. When we first went on the air, it was right around 140 to 160 acres, and now up to 355 acres. Look how quickly that has grown in a span of right about an hour. That just tells you, just like you were saying, John, this fire, much like it can develop its own weather pattern, it is a live, breathing entity, and it is continuing to grow right now.
That's a good way to put it. It is a live, breathing entity. I just went to the truck and saw the pictures from the air, so it gives me a better idea of how widespread it is around that industrial area, but it looks like there's still a lot to burn when I looked at the aerials. So there's another explosion. So, oh, do you hear that?
And now it's gone into this brush over that's just beside there. It's in the pallets. We're zoomed in from our chopper, and it's fully in those pallets, but right up against that open brush area that's all of that full of that dry fuel.
and it does look like it is getting close to those trees there. We talked to Monica Munoz with San Diego Fire. She said there's a strategy. They've got the 6 helicopters and the 2 planes using the fire retardant in the water to douse the flames, but they want to make strategic decisions based upon where they drop the water. If it looks like they can just let the pallets burn safely on their own and just burn out, then maybe they use the water and the helicopters in other more areas that might be getting closer to some structures. She did mention no injuries, thankfully, no structures burned at this point, and they're continuing to try to get a handle on this. She had mentioned, I think just about a half an hour ago when it was at 160 acres, that it could get up to 400 acres, and now we're already at 355. Wonder if it just might surpass the 4 and move on. She also mentioned that it could take most of the afternoon and well into the evening to try to get this fire completely contained. 0% containment, I think, is what she said at about 4:30 this afternoon.
The other thing that Monica pointed... Go ahead, John, sorry.
No, you're right about the decision making. Let's just pan the camera if you could, Elliot. We have a helicopter here. I believe that is not copter 1 or copter 2, but you can see. Let's see what he or she's going to do here. Wow. We're not sure if she's loaded up with let's see. Here she goes, going right over the flames. Let's see what happens. Okay. Oh, look at that! Right into the smoke. Can you imagine how courageous that is? How scary that must be.
Yeah.
Went right through the smoke. Now there's another helicopter circle. Actually, we see a total of 3 now, so that makes sense with what you're saying, that they're mapping out their strategy as far as how they're going to attack. But this is amazing to see that copter. I'm not sure if that's a Forest Service. Looks like a sky crane, actually. Coming closer, looks like another round here. You're looking at looks like a sky crane. I believe this is from the feds. But look at that. Here this pilot's going to go right into the eye of the storm here. Looks like he's sizing it up. He's getting a better idea of what it looks like from the pilot's perspective, is how they can fight it from the air. But imagine, and also the danger of how the heat influences the air temperature and how it affects aviation. It's just very, very courageous flying.
And John, just like you say, with these, you're exactly right. Monica with SD Fire told us there is a federal chopper here helping with all of this, 6 choppers in total, and they have it's basically like an air supervisor coordinating all these airdrops, probably why you saw those 3 coming in back to back to back, moving resources around as the wind shifts, as the fire grows in one area. We're also looking at a camera of live video feed we've got coming in on the ground. Look at all those hoses they're hauling in. Wow. And I'm just getting word, San Diego Fire says that they have this thing 10% contained. So you see that updated on your screen. They're calling this the Caliente fire. It's burned 355 acres, only 10% contained right now, but at least that is something.
Yeah, it looks like this chopper now, the sky crane, is coming in for another look. This would be number 3. So obviously the pilot is communicating with the other pilots, telling them what's going on, because we see a couple choppers just hovering on the perimeter. Once again, this appears to be a sky crane, possibly from the Forest Service. Look at that. Yeah.
John, I want to confirm with you some of the businesses that are being impacted here, because as we can see, it definitely looks like an industrial park with all sorts of semi-trucks just lined up there. So the businesses we are being told right now, and I don't know if you were able to go take a look at the business companies, but this is what we're being told. Moreno Pallet Company is one of the businesses being impacted. Atlas Products, also in that area. Russell Trailer Leasing Corporation, and YRC Freight. Those are the 4 businesses that we are being told impacted right now by this fire named the Caliente fire that has burned now more than 350 acres.
Yeah, and here we go again. He's coming around for, looks like, trip number 4. And there are several helicopters kind of on a perimeter. It's kind of tantamount to a military operation there.
That's what it sounds like.
They're getting an idea of how they're going to fight this fire based on the wind, based on the thickness of the smoke. Man, this is Yeah, look at this.
So we see the black smoke there, John, obviously from the yard
he's
there.
He's dropping some water right there.
That's incredible.
He's dropping some.
Look how targeted
that's the first
and
major,
perfect
that is incredible that
to
they
be
can
able to do that.
Yeah.
It almost looked like he was trying to get on the outside of the fire
Sure.
there, if I'm not mistaken.
To certainly water down that area in case to stop it from spreading.
You see the black smoke we were talking earlier, that's when you have some rubber oftentimes, if it's a scrap yard there, different kinds of oils and gasoline and liquids and different types of plastics and materials, and that's what you get, that's what causes that black smoke there. There's not enough oxygen down in there to create more of a whitish smoke or a grayish smoke as it continues. Luckily, it looks like the wind is blowing from the right side to the left, which means that it's blowing kind of into the yard, so to speak, at least from the outer edge on the right side of your screen.
John, I wanted to ask you, can you tell from where you are, because it looks like what we're looking at from the chopper, that the pallet yard, these businesses are kind of up at the top of a hill, a flat part at the top of the hill.
Yeah.
So fire typically goes...
There is a structure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I do see a structure. It's surrounded by palm trees. I'm not sure whether it's a house or business. I will say this, that water drop was effective because the flames went down quite a bit. So, but that pilot, you know, I'll be honest with you, I was in the Air Wing in the Marine Corps, and I've always had a lot of respect for pilots in combat situations, but this is amazing, this kind of flying. I mean, what that pilot did, he took him a couple of passes, but it looks like the flames have gone down.
You know, I wanted to let you know that just got tweeted out by Mark Strawn, who's identifying the different cranes that we're seeing out there. The Sky Crane and the red Black Hawk with the giant Bambi bucket, that's what it's called. Those are SDG&Es. The black and white Black Hawk is federal, and the yellow and the blue helicopter is Cal Fires. We know this is a joint agency operation, and so, Mark, I wanted to thank you for tweeting that at me so we have some sort of reference of who we are seeing, when and where, but clearly some very brave piloting going on right now.
And we're getting a different angle now. You see the crane with the water. They're trying to save that adjacent yard there with all of the trucks and the different...
and see all the cars?
And all the cars, yeah.
Let me just interrupt. Interrupt you guys. Here comes looks like another water drop here coming, Elliot. If we get this, I'm not sure what agency this is. I don't think it is Copter 1 or Copter 2, but looks like this is going to be another separate helicopter. I don't know whether it looks like he is coming toward the fire, so let's see what happens. And this is looks like it's going to be right after the one we saw with the Sky Crane. So let's see what happens here. Of course, he's got a different water delivery system. He's got the basket versus the nozzle that the Sky Crane had. So, oh boy, now the flames are kind of shooting up again. But here we go. Let's see what happens there, and let's see how he gets out of this. Look at that. Look at that.
That is just amazing.
Banks sharply toward us. Man, I tell you, let's talk about it, how dangerous that is.
Just skirting the edge of that black plume of smoke.
That is an SDG&E helicopter. You're exactly right. I just see the logo on the underbelly of the copter. That's SDG&E, so yeah.
John, when you were leaving the station, I think you drove southeast down there to this. How big was that plume of smoke on your way down, and was it affecting drivers on the highway? You know, everybody's slowing down to take a look at that.
Not really. We kind of got here. It surprised us because we saw the smoke, but we didn't think it was going to be this massive. And as soon as we pulled up, we saw these flames that were hundreds of feet high, and then we heard the explosions. And we basically got here right, I would assume, minutes after it started. So there weren't a lot of looky-loos. This fire just kind of crept up on, I think.
Are you still hearing those explosions?
We just heard one now, but the explosions have subsided. Not as bad as before, but still a lot of thick smoke. Not as many high flames as we saw. So it looks like those water drops are slowly but surely starting to work. Yeah.
And the big wall of flame is not as intense as we're looking from our chopper view up in the sky. But I will tell you, John, just that we talked about what we suspected might be the case, because we had seen, looked like some kind of a junkyard, a car yard out there. When we zoomed in just a little bit, our chopper did, we could see cars burning. So that could have been what all of those explosions were, hitting those cars. And it looks like it's now just burning down in there. Fire retardant contains salts that alter the way that a wildfire burns. So that's what's helping this, and tap that down after you've just seen that incredible air assault, basically.
Yeah, I'm looking at the aerials right now, and it looks like the flames have gone down, but it looks like there's a whole row of trucks kind of screen left. I think you can see it as well. So I don't know whether those are trucks or just, tractor trailer or what. So, but man, look at that. Oh boy.
Yeah, well, there's a freight leasing company there, and there's also a trailer company there. So you can see those are just lined up and likely just filled with products as well.
Yeah, but like we say, there are a lot of really thick palm trees around here. So we'll see what kind of fire behavior we'll experience.
And we're just getting in. It's now 10% contained, so they're at least making some progress. We're up to 355 acres. It was at about 160 just an hour ago, so they've updated those numbers. I'll give you the mandatory evacuations again. We haven't done that lately. South of St. Andrews, west of La Media, east of Otay Center Drive, the Higher Education Center at Otay Mesa there is also evacuated. Voluntary evacuation south of the 905 west of Cactus Road. And we had heard some reports that they were providing some Red Cross assistance at the high school there, the Otay Mesa High School, which is fine. So they're getting it under control. They're doing the best they can. And John, as you had mentioned, hopefully they'll be able to save the truck yard just to the left of the fire as you look at the screen there, but the fire is moving in that direction. At least the wind is pushing it that way.
John, are you seeing any movement from the crews on the ground there, or is everybody pretty much staying in place? From our vantage point, I mean, there's so much black smoke in the air right now, but I'm curious to know what kind of crew movement that's going on the ground.
Well, I'm going to move here, and if we could, Elliot, if photographer extraordinaire, if you could pan, you can see the fire trucks. They're just staging, and we haven't seen one fire truck come in here, code 3. So as Monica Munoz was saying, they're still just making sure that they fight this fire as safely as possible without anybody getting hurt. So, but it looks like it's pretty much of a staging. We are seeing a massive display of mutual aid. We've seen Chula Vista Fire, National City Fire, and of course San Diego Fire, which is in this jurisdiction. But it looks like they're just waiting to see what the best way is to. Oh boy, did you hear that explosion?
That
Holy
was
cow.
very loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no fire hydrants in the
this
area.
is
I was kind of surprised to hear that, but Monica Munoz saying that they just don't put a lot of fire hydrants out in these areas where it's mostly just dry brush. They're using off-road vehicles. They're bringing the water in for the fire engines on the ground, and then of course you've got the 6 helicopters and the 2 planes that are getting their water from various areas in the area.
Oh, look at that. We've got the crane up, and they're just routing the water through that crane. Again, doesn't look like that's directly on any of the flames, but possibly setting up that perimeter. I mean, you've seen this so many times with a wildfire where they set backfires in order to stop the progression of the flames. So whatever they're watering down right there, you remember the Napa fires from last year as well. You'd see this scene where neighbors were literally, hosing down their rooftops, and we're getting a little glimpse of it right there, which means they have something there they want to protect, something there they know they can burn, and that also gives you an indication of whatever meteorologist is giving is on scene right now working with all these different fire agencies. They're saying there's a potential for that wind to then slide a little bit, which I presume would be southwest, since we've been seeing that southeast wind for about the last 30 minutes.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing. My partner, Elliot Macias, says the TBS airport, ZBS airport is closed. That's the one not in Tijuana, but on the other side of the border. And that obviously is because of the thick smoke. We're just joined here by stringer Doug Aguiar, who said that in his experience in covering the news, he's never seen a more intense fire. Talk about that, Doug.
Flames are shooting up to 100, 120 feet in the air.
How close did you get, Doug?
Very close. The explosions are rocking the vehicles, rocking the people. There's been well over 40 explosions in the last 30 minutes, and it's all propane tanks.
And Doug, what are firefighters doing? Is it just too dangerous to try to fight it?
The firefighters were trying to fight it at first. They had to evacuate because they just can't stop this. They're pouring water from a ladder, but it's not doing any good right now.
Okay. The voice of Doug Aguiar, one of our fine stringers with the on-scene video, who was very close to the flames, obviously. And Doug, also, you live close here, so you got here fast.
I was the first media on scene.
Okay. And how scary was it for you? I know you're a former Marine, but
No, I'm used to this kind of stuff. It's just the most intense fire I've ever witnessed.
The heat.
The heat, the explosions, the amount of flames. And again, I've never seen firefighters have to evacuate the scene.
Ooh, okay, thank you, Doug Agwell. Thank you so much for that insight. So we're going to pan the camera. We have another sky crane coming in. So let's see what happens here. Number 729.
Wow, pretty impressive. Flames.
728.
120 feet in the air. Wow.
Yeah.
With 40 explosions.
That was a massive water drop.
Which he is saying was the propane tanks. Let's see, this is the orange or the red Blackhawk with the giant Bambi bucket, possibly.
Yeah, this looks to be the, okay, there's another, you see another chopper on the horizon there. I'm not sure what agency that is.
The black and white
Not
Blackhawk
sure, but now there's...
is the feds.
Okay, a little hard to see. The sun's kind of shining against us. Oh, San Diego Fire, as Doug says. Okay. So it looks like the aerial attack is starting to step up a little bit. But you heard Doug, the fine freelancer, say that he saw firefighters actually having to get out of there. It was just so incredibly dangerous. And,
this business is destroyed, and there's going to be other businesses threatened.
Okay, more businesses threatened. So, yeah. So this thing is not over.
And, John, you talk about the businesses affected. Moromo Pallet Company, Atlas Wood Products, Russell Trailer Leasing Corporation, and YRC Freight. Just a few of the businesses affected. They're in the area, 10% contained at this moment.
Some of these aircraft, they can carry 3,000 gallons up to 12,000 gallons on those larger air tankers, either of fire retardant or of water. Fire retardant actually contains salt, and that alters the makeup of a fire. And as you can see, after they've dropped around the edges, it's really put that out. Where it looked, we were a little concerned that it was going to get into that brush or even leach over into the side of those other freight yards. But it really has contained it. You can see what that all-out aerial assault has done. Again, 6 choppers up in the air, 2 tankers and an airplane. Look at this. Do you see this? This is what we've been concerned about. Probably a burning ember. Blew over. Now it's in that brush. And unfortunately, we're going to see how fast this is going to get bigger out in the brush. John, we're looking again from our chopper view, and it looks like, we're guessing, a burning ember has blown out of that ember yard down into the part of the canyon, and it is burning that open space now.
It looks like it's tough to tell you, John, which direction it is from where you're standing, but from our vantage point, it would be, I believe this would be north of the main fire area. So just north of where the bulk of the fire is, it looks like an ember has jumped a decent amount, and it is burning at this moment. And of course, any kind of wind is going to just make that run right back down into the canyon there. Can you see that from where you're at, John?
We see a different color smoke, which I think is what you're talking about. We did see looks like a fire battalion chief drive down toward that direction. But it's just, I don't know, it just seems like this, like I said, if a fire has a human personality, it's displaying itself right as we speak, because it seems like it does almost have an unpredictable personality as far as what's going to happen here. You can see the different color smoke, the more lighter colored smoke. I don't know what that means, is what's burning compared to the thick black smoke.
Well, the lighter colored smoke means that they're getting
there.
it out, that they're putting it down, that they're putting it out, which is a good sign, John, what you're seeing, I think.
Yep.
All right, John's going to stay on scene for us.
Yep. Yeah, we'll be here.
All right, John's going to stay on scene with us. For us, we were going to be checking in with him, the progression of this. Again, in the last hour and a half, we have seen this grow from 160 acres to more than 355. Fire officials have said it could get up to 400 acres. Right now, 10% containment. But as you just saw, it looks like an ember has jumped outside. We do have crews in the air. We have crews on land, and we are going to be following this for you throughout the night. Right now, we're going to take a quick break and be back with more.